Hi guys, welcome to Embedded Assessment number 1, Writing an Expository Essay. You are on page 127. With the sub, your assignment is to write an expository essay. We only have the computers for Monday and Tuesday, so use your time wisely. It says, think about how writers organize and develop ideas in expository writing. Use an expository organizational structure to communicate your understanding of the concept of dystopia or the concept of a hero's journey. Select one of the writing prompts below. So this first one is writing prompt number 1. You're only doing one, you're not doing both. So I'm going to put this one, we'll make this one number 1, and we'll color it here. The orange prompt, essay number 1, so orange is essay 1, and then the next one we'll make it blue, that's essay 2. You're choosing one of these. So the first one says, write an essay that compares and contrasts life in the dystopian society of the novel you read with our modern day society. So you're basically comparing and contrasting their dystopian society with our modern day society. Our modern day society is not perfect by any means, but it's definitely not a dystopian society. So how is our society the same and how is it different? That's what you're doing when you're comparing and contrasting. All right, your next topic, let me make it blue. You're only doing one or the other, not both, is write an essay that explains how the protagonist, the hero, which is Jonas, changes as a result of conflict with his dystopian society, The Road of Trials, and explain how this change connects to the novel's theme, the crossing or return of the threshold. In other words, you're showing how Jonas goes through the different conflicts and experiences all the steps of the Road of Trials, which you should already have marked in your giver book. So in your giver book, you should have already marked with sticky notes in here all the Road of Trials, so it'd be easy to find evidence on this one. However, this topic is a little more difficult because you're showing how the protagonist changes and goes through the conflicts, through the Road of Trials with the evidence that you had on your sticky notes, and explain how this connects to the novel's theme. The theme is the life lesson. What were we supposed to learn from this dystopian society book? So you have to state all of that in your thesis. You have to have the title, the author, how Jonas goes through the Road of Trials, and what the theme is. The theme needs to be a concise statement that you come up with. Okay, planning and pre-writing. Take time to plan your essay. Which prompt do you feel best prepared to respond to with examples from literature and real life? What pre-writing strategies such as free writing or graphic organizers could help you brainstorm ideas and organize your examples? So what I want you to do now is talk with your shoulder partner and decide if you are going to do the orange prompt, prompt 1, or the blue prompt, prompt 2. Ready, set, go. Okay, drafting, you are going to read the directions for drafting with your shoulder partner now. Please read drafting with your shoulder partner. I'll pause the video. Okay, evaluating and revising the draft. Please read this with your shoulder partner now. I'll pause the video. Okay. Checking and editing for publication. Confirm that your final draft is ready for publication. So this should be what you're publishing really for your final draft. So we're not quite here with your rough draft yet. Read this with your shoulder partner. Okay, reflection. Please read this with your shoulder partner. It says, how is your understanding of utopia and dystopia developed through the reading in this unit? You are going to write an answer here. So you are going to tell me how your understanding has changed on the topic of a utopian and dystopian society. Okay. Next, this is your rubric. So exemplary is the A column, proficient B, emerging C or D, and complete is an F. You obviously want to be shooting for the exemplary column. In the exemplary column, you need to maintain a focused thesis in response to one of the prompts. So your thesis needs to be very clear. And depending on who you are writing about, what topic you're writing about, you need to address that appropriately. But just to help you with the beginning part of the thesis, you always need to have a subject and an opinion, but you need to mention the author and the title. So in this case, we would start the thesis out with, in the novel, everybody should be writing this, The Giver by Lois Lowry, and then you're going to finish it from there. If you are doing prompt 1, you need to compare and contrast a dystopian society to our modern day society. So it might sound something like, in the novel The Giver by Lois Lowry, our society is similar to and different than a dystopian society, something like that. Okay. If you're doing topic number 2, it's going to be a little more difficult because you have to include a lot more. You have to include the novel, so in the novel by The Giver by Lois Lowry, and then you have to also include how the protagonist, Jonas, goes through the road of trials and how this changes him to connect to the theme. So it might sound something like, in the novel The Giver by Lois Lowry, Jonas experiences the road of trials which connects to the theme, blah. I'm not going to give you that part. You need to come up with a concise statement for the theme. So that's just to help you as far as writing your thesis. It needs to be clear and concise. After your thesis, you need to introduce your topic in your introductory paragraph. Then you need to have evidence throughout in your body. And then you need to have a conclusion overall. Okay. If you are doing topic number 1 in your conclusion, you should sum up pretty much how our society is the same and different than a dystopian society. If you were doing prompt 2, you need to sum up how Jonas goes through the road of trials and how that ultimately connects to the theme overall. Okay, I don't think this is going to let me italicize the title, but it should be when you're writing. So in the novel, The Giver by Lois Lowry, or you can underline the title as well. And by should not be capitalized. So make sure you have that start to your thesis. All right. Then you need to develop ideas thoroughly with relevant supporting details, facts, and evidence. So if you are doing the first topic, you need to find how their dystopian society is the same or different from us. So you need to find actual pieces of evidence and then compare and contrast it with our society. Okay, if you are doing the second prompt, you need to find how he goes through, examples of where he goes through the road of trials, which you already marked with your sticky notes, and how that connects with the theme of the novel overall, how Jonas changes throughout the novel, which ultimately shows us or sheds light on the theme. The third bullet says, provides insightful commentary and deep analysis. So what that means is, after each piece of evidence, you should be using your power verbs on the sheet that I gave you. So this quote shows, this quote denotes, this quote provides evidence of, this quote proves, whatever power verb you're going to be using, you need to use that power verb to kind of prove your point at the very beginning of your quote. So what does that quote show to link back? Okay, the structure of the essay. Does it have an engaging introduction? You need to start with a hook that's engaging, then your thesis. Your thesis can be really anywhere in your introduction. That is up to you. Use effective organizational structure for a multi-paragraph essay. If you're doing compare and contrast, you don't want to be all over the place. Maybe you do our society, you're comparing in one paragraph. Then the next paragraph, you're contrasting. In the other topic, make sure that you're going through the road of trials in a chronological order. You're going the first call to action. You're going through the first 3 steps, then the next 3. That's on page 16 and 17 if you need to look over that. But don't be jumping all around. Use a variety of transitional strategies to create cohesion and unity among ideas. So each paragraph at least should have a transition. You may use many more as well. So, provides an insightful conclusion. In the first one, overall, you should be telling me how our society is the same or our society is different from a dystopian society. In the second essay, you should be telling me overall how Jonas goes through the road of trials and how he changes and how that connects to the theme overall. Make sure that you have consistent academic voice by using a variety of literary terms and precise language. So I should see words like protagonist in there. I should see the different types of road of trials in there if you're doing option 2. I should see compare and contrast in there. I should see literary terms that is more than just saying, oh, Jonas, Jonas, instead of protagonist, those sorts of things. Embed quotations effectively. We've gone over this again and again and again. There's also an example on the board right now underneath the screen where you can look, and it shows you evidence, author, page number, and then this quote displays, ... So that's always on the board. You can look at that. And then the last piece, demonstrate command of conventions. Make sure your grammar is effective throughout. So you have Monday and Tuesday to type this. It is due on turnitin.com. It is posted. And it is due Friday by midnight. And then if you finish that, you are going to do the writing prompt, which I already kind of talked about on the bottom of page 126, which is in the previous exercise 2.9. So you're on 126 at the bottom. And you are going to type this on the blog if you finish your rough draft. Otherwise, it's homework. So everybody should be typing expository writing prompt 1 or expository writing prompt 2 on the blog. Number 1 says, think about the protagonist's characteristics. What has he or she achieved, and how has he or she changed by the end of the story? Contrast the protagonist with another character from society. Then this just gives you information on what to do. It's on page 126. So you'll have to read that on your own. The expository writing prompt 2 is, think about the final stage of the hero's journey, the crossing or return of the threshold. What does the hero learn about life as a result of the journey or the theme? So again, here's the directions. You are going to type either expository writing prompt 1 or expository writing prompt 2 on the blog.
Mr. Mortimer, can you please call the office? Mr. Mortimer.
This one is due Friday on the blog. You should be able to get this done as well as the embedded assessment done Friday. So I'm going to highlight that and we'll prompt 1. This is due on the blog as homework by Friday. Or prompt 2. So you could do prompt 1 or 2. On the blog. Oops, I didn't spell it right. Okay, so your first task is going to be to do the embedded assessment on page 127. It should be at least, I would say at least for this one, 5 paragraphs. 5 paragraphs long. You have an intro, you have 3 body paragraphs, and then you have your conclusion. If you want to write more than that, you absolutely can. Especially if you're doing the road of trials, you need to have evidence of something from the first 3 steps, the middle steps, the end steps, okay? So that would essentially be body paragraph 1, 2, and 3. If you're doing the compare and contrast, you need to be comparing and contrasting throughout, so you should have evidence of comparing and then contrasting and comparing throughout. So it should be at least 5 paragraphs for this essay. It's due on turnitin.com. So I'm going to add that here. Due by Friday on turnitin.com, and this is just the rough draft so far, and it is posted so you can turn it in whenever you finish. Okay, it needs to be silent and you need to be typing. Ready, set, go.